This week on Reliving the Extreme, it is episode 200. That's right, everybody. It is episode 200 of Reliving the Extreme. Nate Maxon, your host, here with you. And it is so serendipitous that our review of the first ever ECW pay-per-view, Barely Legal, happens to fall on our 200th episode. I did not plan that from the beginning. I swear, had no idea. But it is really cool. You know, we've gone through this journey with ECW. I think the first episode we watched and reviewed was April 1st, 1993. And here we are, April 13th, 1997. And it is time for the Barely Legal pay-per-view. We watched it, we reviewed it, and that is in the can and ready to go for you to listen to. But before we get to that, before we get to the ECW Barely Legal review, I would like to, first of all, thank each and every one of you for listening to all 200 episodes. I get lots of feedback. We have a lot of listeners that really enjoy the show, and we enjoy having you listen to the show, so thank you very much. And before we get into Barely Legal, like I said, I have a little bonus for everybody here on Reliving the Extreme this week. As a part of episode 200, I am going to welcome to the show Bob Smith. Bob Smith is, as you know, you better know, the former managing editor of Pro Wrestling Illustrated, and he is now the current host of the Outdated Wrestling Hour podcast, which is in my rotation every single week, and I highly recommend it to anyone to listen to the Outdated Wrestling Hour if you are an old school wrestling fan. Bob and I sat down and had a little conversation. You may wonder, why is Nate having Bob Smith on an ECW podcast? Well, little fun fact, Bob Smith was actually the first play-by-play guy for ECW. Gonna let him tell the story. Here we go. My interview on episode 200, or conversation, I guess. We're going to call it an interview. We're going to call it a conversation with Bob Smith on the ECW, on Reliving the Extreme. And after that, of course, we will go into our review of Barely Legal. All right, here on Reliving the Extreme, I am glad to have a man that I'm now going to refer to in our little podcast universe here as Mr. 200. And the reason I say that is because this gentleman joined me on the 200th episode of the We Can't Wrestle podcast. And now he's here on the 200th episode of Reliving the Extreme, our ECW podcast. So I want to welcome him. He is the former managing editor of Pro Wrestling Illustrated. And now, even more relevant than ever, as the host of the Outdated Wrestling Hour and the Outdated Entertainment Hour, my pleasure to welcome back to the WNR Podcast Network, Mr. Bob Smith.
Mr. 200, I thought you were talking about my weight. I mean, I know I got to lose a few, but 200, I don't think I'm quite there yet. So, geez, guy. No, but anyway, listen, it's great to be back here. And Nate, I think this is a wonderful project that you're part of, and I want to be part of this. And when you asked me to come on board, I thought it was great because we're going to talk about a part of my life that was very happy. So I'm glad to do it anytime.
Well, that's good. I'm glad we could do that. We don't have a dark side of the ring here.
No, not for me.
We have a bright side of the ring.
This is why I'm the anti-wrestling establishment guy. I don't have a dark side. Mm-hmm. I never had a conflict with anybody. I enjoyed my job. It's like anything that was annoying back in the day rolled off my back. I just don't have a dark side. I wish I had a dark side. I'd probably be more rich and more famous. But, because those are the people that are, rolling in the dough. I don't know how that works, but in any event, that's the way it goes.
Yeah, well, and I don't know. But my thing has always been to be positive anyway. Don't carry stuff with you like that. Like, I have a group of guys that do the shows with me, and sometimes we'll set up a time to do a show or something, and somebody's like, man, I can't make it, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, hey, Nate, I hope you're not mad. I'm not mad. I'm not paying you to be here anyway. Mm-hmm. we're just sitting down to talk about wrestling. It should be fun, and that's how it should be, I think. I do want to say before we get into.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've had people pull out of an interview. They contact me and say, I just can't do it. It's like 2 minutes before we're supposed to talk. I will kick a box when I hang up the phone with them. But the fact remains is this is just a podcast. This isn't the main part of my life. If somebody disappoints me, as long as they reschedule, I'm fine usually. Mm-hmm. How can you hold it against them?
Right. I do want to say off the cuff before we get into ECW, I know when you were on the We Can't Wrestle podcast, obviously we talked about the Outdated Wrestling Hour, which love that show. Sounds like things are going great over there. And I did want to say thank you for the Outdated Entertainment Hour too, because mid-40s, as far as entertainment, especially music and comedy, my wife tells me all the time, I'm an old soul. You will find me at 46 more, especially with music and comedy, more willing to sit down. If I'm gonna watch something, I'm gonna watch Groucho Marx. I'm gonna watch Red Skelton. I'm gonna watch Red Fox. I'm gonna watch George Carlin. A lot of the new stuff just isn't for me anymore. It just I don't know. It's just not there. But
I hear you. However, I do like a lot of today's comedians, and that's fine. But I will say this: this is kind of a golden age for people who look back at entertainment with all these free streaming services. If you really feel like seeing Groucho, you can type his name in your Roku box, and bam, you can find it where to watch You Bet Your Life and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of a golden age
watch
right
Day
now.
at the Races.
Yeah, and we had this conversation about Star Trek on the show a few weeks ago, and that one exploded. That one really did well, to the point where I'm talking to Steve Generelli and Brian R. Solomon, and I'm going, man, I miss watching the show. How can I see the show? And I discover through them that they've remastered the audio and other special effects on the original 3 seasons. And I'm like, I don't want that. I want the original the way I saw them when I was a kid. So I just ordered a couple of eBay DVD sets, and I'm so happy, But that's, I am Joe Nostalgia. I really am. I am constantly looking back at my childhood, and I'm finding out a lot of other people like to do that too, like yourself, like you just said. Maybe it's when times were simpler or something. I don't know. But, I want to do a show on Popeye. We've got shows coming up on game shows. We've got a couple of rock and roll shows coming up in the can. So, I'm having a blast doing it because it's my jam, so to speak.
It's awesome stuff, and I highly recommend it. I know a lot of our listeners are also nostalgia people because, as far as wrestling goes, we don't get too much past the year 2000 on our shows. So, we have a lot of nostalgic fans as well, and so I encourage any of you to listen to Bob's podcasts. Add them to your weekly regiment, if you will. So let's talk about the reason I asked Bob to come here today is because we will. As the subject matter of the main event of our show that we're doing this week is obviously it's the barely legal pay-per-view. ECW finally gets to pay-per-view, and that's going to be our review for this week with my brother Aaron and Chad Austin. But I wanted to talk to Bob because Bob actually worked for ECW in the formative years. The first so my notes that I wrote down here, my bullet points to hit. The first name that I wrote down was your first contact with ECW. Was it Joel Goodhart or was it Todd Gordon?
Oh, it was Todd Gordon.
Okay.
Because, Joel was Tri-State and he was out of the picture at that point.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize, I guess I didn't know the timeline as far as I didn't know. Because was Joel still involved when they were doing those sports bar shows?
No.
Okay. I thought he was.
Anything with the E on it, Joel was out of the picture by that point.
Gotcha. Okay.
And it all happened because, according to Todd, according to his book and his conversation with me that I had a couple of years ago, a couple of the wrestlers came to him and said, we still want to work. I mean, even though Tri-State is around, we're dying to work. It was a good thing while it was going on. They talked to Todd and said, would you consider starting something up? And I think Todd pretty much said, yeah, but I don't see a future in this. Why don't we just start it small? So they did it at a couple of local sports bars and stuff like that. And I was involved right from the get-go. Mm-hmm. Actually, that's not true. They did a few shows before that. And they had done some matches. They had matches taped. He taped some of the matches with Dick Graham doing the play-by-play.
Really?
The old guy from Philadelphia used
to
do WWF with Cal Rudman in Philadelphia. So
that's not the guy that used to scream the names as a ring announcer, is it?
No. Cal was this older gentleman who used to sit ringside at the Spectrum shows, and he would do it just for that particular. And I don't know how Cal Rudman got involved. Cal Rudman was a music guy, and for some reason he was the color man on those shows. So he started with that, and now he had those in the can. And Todd calls me. I had many great backstage conversations with Todd. We became legitimate friends through the old Tri-State the organization. And I'll never forget the first day I met Todd. He was sitting in a room, and I'm walking in there. We're waiting for the bells to ring and all that stuff. And I don't know, either he or I brought up Memphis, and then bang, the conversation started, and we talked for about 45 minutes. And it was one of those deals where our mutual joy about wrestling was being squashed by the homogenized WWF at that point. And we didn't enjoy that anymore. We wish there was something like that around here. And that was the end of that. I didn't really think much of it. I would see him every time I went into Philadelphia. And then one day I get a phone call out of the blue, and he said, "Would you like to be the host of our weekly TV show that we're going to put on?" I think he referred to it as cable access here in Philadelphia, Channel 7. I thought about it. I went, geez, I have no experience in this. I did a couple of ringside interviews once. I don't know. I said, all right, I'll try it. Sure. What the heck? So once a week, I would get on the Amtrak and go to Philadelphia, and he would pick me up at the railroad station, take me to what looked like a big oversized apartment building, but in there they had a little TV studio set up. And it was like the two of us would host the shows. We do the wraparounds for those live matches that we talked about. We have some of the local guys in to talk, like Johnny Hotbody and the Sandman and Tony Stetson. Those ilk of local guys who were really just cutting their teeth at that point. But I will say that two things I was impressed with. Number one, those kids were serious. Those kids wanted to work. Those guys wanted to learn and work and get better. And it was fun to be around because everything was upbeat about that at that point, because they were happy to be back working someplace.
Right.
And secondly, well, I was on TV with Todd, and it was like a new thing for me. I hadn't seen the shows a lot. I don't know. I'm weird. I'm a weird guy, man. He would give me the shows on these video cassette tapes with a little white box, and I would take them home. I don't ever think I ever even looked at them. I was so busy at PWI at that point that I really didn't have time to, he kept me coming back. And eventually I did these shows for a few episodes. And then I did play-by-play at the Chestnut Cabaret, I think it was, in Philadelphia. I could have the venue room, but I think that's what it was. No, that's right. It was definitely because they had a music scene going on there. And my color man was from Wrestling World magazine, Stately Wayne Manor.
Stately Wayne Manor, yeah.
Right. So we do this show, and it's a long show and a really violent show. They were fighting all over. It was a precursor to ECW. They were fighting all over the crowd. Went back to the bar. They're hitting each other with bottles and beer cases and stuff. Wild show. Ivan Koloff had a steel chain match, I believe, against either Stetson or Tommy Cairo. I don't remember which one. And we finish, and I sit back. I don't know what was wrong with me. I said, "You're not cut out for this." To myself. Right. Nobody talked to me. Nobody said, "Bob, you're not doing this right." I just didn't feel I had the right cadence to be a wrestling announcer on TV. I just didn't. I think I could do interviews and stuff like that. I had no problem. But I think that the play-by-play guy, I don't know. I didn't feel comfortable. Now, who would walk away from something like this, right? He's starting out, everything is looking bright. But I told him, I said, "Listen, you could do better than this. I mean, this is, I'm." And he said, "I got no problem." I said, "Well, I think you should." So he did. And then I think he found Jay Sully eventually.
Yep.
But this all led to the day when I'm working at PWI. And none of the people realize this, that Joey Styles was an intern with our magazines. And one day, Heyman comes up to visit. And there's Joey. And I see the two of them in our conference room. And there's photos of this to prove it. I don't know who took these photos. I didn't even know there were photos of them, but they are talking a mile a minute. And I turned around to whoever was in the office and I said, "Those guys are going to work together." And those guys ended up working together.
Yeah, sometimes you can just see it. Yeah.
It's there. They were just, they're waving their arms around and talking about this and that. And I'm thinking, wow, they hit it off right away. These guys are going to work. And I've never been so happy to fail at something, even though whether I failed or not, whether I walked away from it, either way, I'm happy I walked away because that helped unleash Joey Styles on the world. I think Joey did a fantastic job. All the awards he won with the Observer prove it. I think he was born to do it. He's the smartest kid that ever walked in that office that talked about wrestling. He knew everything. Joey knows everything about wrestling. So I think it all worked out. But that's basically the long way of putting my little short stint with ECW as actually working with Todd Gord. Todd was fantastic. There was never any rancor or any problem like that. I remember going to his house with a bunch of wrestlers. He had a pool. We were hanging out in the pool and stuff like that, and we all had fun. I just and I love the guys. Sandman was great. I love JT Smith. I was sorry that he got hurt and had to kind of quit early. They were fantastic. It was a wonderful time, and those were really hard hitting matches. A lot of them were kind of simplistic because they were all learning, and a lot of them were in their first or second years working as pros. But I was there at the start of something that became something big, and it was pretty exciting. It really was a lot of fun.
And that was gonna be because when we started the show many moons ago, we are, just for simplicity's sake, we are watching the show. We do it weekly, review the episodes of ECW, and the first one that you could, for simplicity, we just went with what WWE has on Peacock.
Right.
I didn't make the guys go back and search on YouTube for stuff pre that. So it starts April 6th, 1993 on Peacock. So before that was one of the questions I was going to ask you, because by the time that airs, like you referenced, Jay Sully is the host of the show. The only man I've ever seen sweat more on TV than Mike Rotunda. But before that was one of the questions I was going to ask. And you kind of mentioned a few names, those shows that you were doing. So that was those shows were the Philly guys, right? Like Larry Winters and Tony Stetson and Sandman in the wetsuit and
right.
Yeah. Okay.
And I forgot one little anecdote about all this announcing stuff. That show at the Chestnut Cabaret that Wayne and I did. Somebody writes me in Facebook and goes, "Dude, I heard you on WWE Network. That was great." I went, "What are you talking about?" They had shot that and put it out as a DVD as ECW's Bloodiest Battles or something, and it ended up on the WWE Network. And so here I am thinking I'm the worst thing since Milt Ruskin or something like that, and I'm watching this tape 30 years later than we recorded, 30, 35 years later, and I'm thinking, Todd was right. It wasn't that bad, and it wasn't that bad. I don't think they would have put it on the air if it was like amateur hour. So
that was actually one of those things that I was disappointed, because there were some things when the WWE Network, when they transferred everything over to Peacock,
right?
There were some things that fell off. Like they had that, which is not on Peacock, I don't believe now. Right. And then they also had the original ECW pilot that they had sent to TV stations that had like King Kalua was on there. And there was a couple other people that didn't make the cut once they got the actual show rolling. But that was also on the network, and when they transferred over to Peacock, it's not in existence anymore. That's why I'm really worried about when the Peacock deal ends, and everything's going to wind up on Netflix. How much are they going to? I'm so worried that so much stuff, they own so much stuff that there's going to be stuff that are they going to see value in transferring all that old world class stuff over to Netflix or the Mid-South stuff or any of that stuff? It worries me that it's just going to get lost in the ether to time.
Yeah.
And I know I'm veering off from
no.
the ECW conversation, but
listen, I love the Joe McHugh era stuff that's on there. I watch that all the time. The stuff that we did that ended up on the network was in the hidden gem section. You had to kind of look for it. Certainly wasn't featured. They weren't going to put it as this week's hot release or anything like that, right? So, I wonder how, you make a really good point there, because you're right. There is less content on Peacock than there was on the network. There's no question about that.
And that's why I have a lot of stuff. I have a lot of stuff in my collection, and I have hard drives of stuff that I can watch, but it's just as a wrestling fan and a fan of the history, and even a fan of the stuff before I was a baby, because as you get older, you go back. I never watched Mid-South when I was a kid. It wasn't even on my TV in Toledo in the 1980s. I didn't get to really watch any of it till the network and YouTube and everything, and really get into it. But I'm sad that I'm pretty much convinced that some guy like my son, that's kind of a wrestling fan now, that's in his 20s and likes the modern stuff, it's going to be so much harder for him to see the history in the future, and it's really sad. I mean, it's just, with TKO taking over and everything, and WWE owning so much. Like I said, I just picture all this wonderful wrestling footage wasting away in a warehouse somewhere.
You make a great point. You make a great point there, because I worry. There have been people, some of our great writers, so George Shire, a guy like Ian Douglas. These people are writing history books about early wrestling and how the business was and how it was for things back then. Problem is this: as wrestling evolves and becomes more of a show than even a quasi sport, I worry that in future generations they won't look at it seriously at all.
Nope.
And that the histories will be totally forgotten. The mindset, the psychology of 50s, 60s, 70s wrestling, 80s will be totally forgotten. And it will morph into something that's strictly show business. And you know what? I think that's a problem.
Yeah. The only honestly, like I always say this, the only wrestling Sandow that my son knows about is Damien Sandow.
Right.
Like it all gets lost to time, and there aren't, I think we're running out of people. And I don't like to, I mean, I'm just a guy that hosts a podcast that loves old wrestling. So I don't count myself as a historian per se, but I think we're running out of people like you and me that respect the history and that are interested in the history and want to read those books. And I want to know anything I can find. Tell me more about Toots Mondt. You know what I mean? I just, that's my jam. And I think we're running out of people like that, and it's unfortunate.
Well, that's right. It's a point I always make too, is people say, "Oh, Tony Khan needs a booker." Now, who exactly are you talking about? Who's left?
Yeah, right.
Kevin Sullivan's gone. Jerry Jarrett is gone. The Crockett's are gone.
Heyman works for WWE.
Right. Cornette would do it, but he's not going to do it ever again because he's tired of the rigmaroles of the business. There's a couple others, maybe a Tom Pritchard or something like that. I don't know. But here's the thing: they're not being used. Nobody's even asking them anymore. When the WWE is looking for writers, they're looking for TV writers, not wrestling writers, or people who even know anything about the history of wrestling. Now, I can't say that they're doing the wrong thing because they're printing money. They're really successful right now. But by the same token, we are getting farther by every episode that comes out. We're getting farther away from the tenets that made pro wrestling for over 50 years. And it bothers me greatly. It really does.
Me too. And I'm like you. I try to look for the good stuff. I don't, if I watch Raw or SmackDown, I don't watch AEW. I haven't watched AEW in over 2 years because I realized I was wasting 2 hours of my time watching something I didn't like. So I stopped watching it. But I do just, I guess out of habit, I watch Raw and I watch SmackDown, but I never watch them live. I watch them after the fact so I can fast forward through the stuff I don't want to see. And there are gems in there, and there are stars in there, and there are times where you see that where they're telling a wrestling story, but like you said, it's just we get further and further away from it, and it's fading. It's fading.
It's weird. The 2024 WrestleMania ended, and I was more excited about WWE than I'd have been in a long time. They're using the words professional wrestling at the end of that WrestleMania, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, they're talking like traditionalists. I got to watch this. So I watched it this next year, and I was totally disappointed by everything that's happened since last WrestleMania to this one. And this last WrestleMania really let me down. So I'm starting to not even look at the stuff with the eagerness that I had even a year ago. I just they keep modernizing things to the point where pro wrestling, it doesn't look like pro wrestling. It looks like something else.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the matches are almost the afterthought. I think WWE is built now on the big put down in a face-to-face interview rather than the match itself. They put more time into two guys yammering in the ring before the first match even happens on a show than they are in the wrestling. I'm not to say, which is not to say the wrestling's bad. Wrestling technically is actually really good.
Yeah, the athletes are fantastic athletes.
Yeah, that's the crazy part about it. It's just they are selling big boxes of sizzle rather than the steak. I don't know how else to put it, but it's unsatisfying to anybody that likes clean finishes and a match that doesn't have to have a storyline. Does every match have to have a build? Does every match have to have the storyline?
Right.
Why can't we just put two guys in and see what happens?
Well, I took us off that exit just like I knew that I would. I'll get us back on a highway here.
Get off my lawn, man.
You alluded to most of the honestly in your story. You alluded to most of the questions I was going to ask about your experience in ECW. So now I'll go to as from a perspective of looking back historically, because I have obviously my opinion. What is your overall opinion of ECW as a whole, as its existence? Because I think that there was some good, but I also think the stuff that we're talking about now that the business has evolved into, ECW and the WWE during the Attitude Era contributed to a lot of this. In changing as ECW morphed into what it morphed into, I think that it did some. There's some great shows and there's some great matches and there's some great moments and everything leading up to this barely legal pay-per-view that we're going to talk about on this episode is and I think my personal opinion is at barely legal ECW peaks, but I think that for good or for bad, it was a great thing in its time, but I think it also did contribute some things to what we were talking about, the business getting away from what it was or should be. If what I'm saying makes any freaking sense.
No, I absolutely listen. You kind of went around the bend to talk about it, but I will say, yes, your point is well taken. In that people forget. Some people, you say ECW to them, and they think blood, blood, blood. That's the first thing they think of.
Right.
Heck, it was part of their logo.
Yeah.
Right.
It's part of my podcast logo.
Right, but people forget. They had all these scientific matches with all these stars that came in from all over the wrestling world. From Mexico, you had Eddie Guerrero, you had
Malenko,
Brian Pillman, all these guys who were coming in for various reasons at various phases in their career, and they would let them work. Mm-hmm. That was the beauty part of ECW. You would see long matches that didn't need a build and didn't need anything after. The match would contain itself. Or you'd see a wild match like Terry Funk versus Sabu that you never forgot once you saw it. Those type of things. That was what they did right. What they did wrong was give in to their own base instincts in some things. On Kimono Wanalea, come on, it's like all that seamy side of it.
Yeah,
the bad language, the flipping the birds, the stuff, all totally unnecessary in my eyes. It doesn't mean you can't have a hard edge. But why? I continue to insist, if you have a promotion that subsists mainly of being punkish and vulgar and like low rent and people flipping the birds and using bad language, you are not going to be successful. It's never been proven. And that goes for the deathmatch places too.
Yeah.
In that if you go too extreme in any regard, you are not going to make money. The only way you can make money is with a product that people feel safe bringing their kids to come see.
Yes.
Now, WWF, or forgive me, WWE has a hard edge to it sometimes, and it gets really violent, and they've been using bad language too at times. But they straddle that tightrope better than they they have to. They're on network TV.
Mm-hmm.
So that way people feel safe bringing a younger crowd.
Well, and something
you're not gonna get kids into a show where if they're sitting in the third row in a high school gym, they get flying glass in their eye.
Yeah,
from a stupid move with a fluorescent. You know what I'm saying? And that's a lot of that stuff. The fluorescent tubes and all this stuff was started with the with the hardcore match culture.
Mm-hmm.
That bunch of people who weren't in wrestling said, "Hey, we can do this too," and they started these deathmatch federations where it's nothing but carnage in somebody's backyard, and it's ridiculous, and law enforcement should ban it. That's how bad I feel about it. Law enforcement should ban garbage wrestling.
And then when you see someone who's actually technically a trained pro. We just did our Hall of Shame episode last week, and this year's Hall of Shame, we went ahead and threw Ian Rotten in there because he does that. He's a professionally trained wrestler. He was never a good wrestler, but he's a professionally trained wrestler. But what he does in Tennessee or wherever it is, his as Cornette would call it, outlaw mud show stuff. He's just letting guys who shouldn't be doing that do that. The light tubes and all that kind of stuff. And it's like you said, I agree with you. It's like human cockfighting. So the law enforcement should shut it down.
Well, yeah, I saw pictures and some people were proud to show themselves like using like lawn equipment on their foreheads and seriously, and power tools. And I'm thinking,
you're not talented.
What is the mindset of not only the people doing it, but the people who are watching it? I don't get it. I don't understand it. you know, you can only go so far with it. I mean, basically, it looks like people are trying to kill each other, right? That's the whole idea. Oh my God, is he hurting him or is he not? Who wants to see a pro wrestler get hurt? That's the difference in all the fans today.
Mm-hmm.
You hear AEW fans go, well, that Ospreay match against that Japanese guy, they almost put each other down, and I'm thinking, what are you talking about, dude? Wrestling's supposed to be a work.
Right. Yeah.
Real
exactly.
pro wrestling, it looks like they're murdering each other, but they're fine. There's a difference.
Bret Hart never hurt anybody, and it all
That's
looked
right.
real.
So we have a bunch of people now involved with professional wrestling who were weaned on early ECW, I hate to say it, who don't know the first thing about professional wrestling.
Mhm.
And it's a problem. And I always say, I don't want it to happen, but somebody's getting killed any minute now.
Yeah.
Botching something. You see the things people put them up for laughs on Facebook, or people flying out of a ring onto a table and miss the table entirely. You think somebody may not survive that in the future?
Right. Yes.
It's horrible.
And by encouraging it, by putting a video of it, you're just encouraging them to do it again.
Well, I actually think most people that put them up go, how are they allowing this? There's the two sides of the coin of the people who watch that stuff. So if there's anything that ECW did that was wrong, it kind of started that mindset. You hear the guys do what you want, do whatever you want.
And like you said, like you alluded to, that's where I'm such a man of two stories on ECW, because there's so much stuff that you can get in there and enjoy, like Rob Van Dam versus Jerry Lynn,
right?
Or Eddie Guerrero versus Dean Malenko, or Rey Mysterio versus Psychosis. When Rey Mysterio wrestled Psychosis in the ECW arena, 90% of American wrestling viewers had never seen anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they were living out in California and they'd seen AAA or CMLL or whatever. But it revolutionized things. And then, like you said, it revolutionized things both for the good and the bad.
Right.
I think.
Right. And here's the deal, though. I hope that a smart wrestling promoter, and soon somewhere we're going to get a smart, knowledgeable, young wrestling promoter starting up a business, and they're going to realize what the mistakes everybody else has made and avoid them, as opposed to trying to mimic them. Yeah. And I think that's we're going to have a serious number 3 at that point. Yeah.
Well, hey, I told Bob I would take about a half an hour of his time today, and look at that. Look what I did. About a half an hour of your time.
Not only that, but you're giving me a donut, aren't you? I thought there was donuts.
Yeah. It's in the mail.
Oh, excellent. Donut in the mail. That's a good one. No, I just listen, I appreciate being here because, like I say, I have nothing but fond memories of being working with the wonderful Todd Gord, one of the nicest people I ever met. All those guys, Johnny Hotbody, Stetson, Cairo, Sandman, JT, Larry Winters was a cool dude. I liked all of them. I really had a lot of fun. I was learning the same way they were, to be honest with you, about being on TV and all that other stuff. And if it wasn't for Todd Gordon, I never would have had that really cool experience. Like I said, I've done a lot of things mere mortals don't get an opportunity to do in wrestling. Same with Mario Savoldi, letting me do interviews of Tony Atlas in the same spot where Vince McMahon did, doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, how many people get that little opportunity to do things like that? So I've had a charmed life in wrestling, other than the fact that Stanley Weston retired. But other than that, it was downhill all the way after that. But I still, I'll tell you what, if the world didn't become what it became, I'd still be with PWI to this day. I didn't get fired. I didn't quit. I just had to go. It's a weird story. Yeah, I told you that story before.
Yeah. We discussed that on the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Yeah.
I always refer to it as a cosmic screwing. Right? I got screwed cosmically. Nobody meant to hurt me, but there you go. But if that's the worst thing that ever happened to me, I had a darn good life. So yeah, I can't complain.
Well, before I let you go back to your evening, Bob, would you like to let everybody know how they can find your shows, find your stuff, find you out there on the interwebs?
Well, as Nate was kind enough to describe, I am the host of 2 podcasts these days. The first one, the Outdated Wrestling Hour, is in its 3rd year. I didn't really think I was going to last so long. That's really cool. And we recently hired a new co-host in Joe Puccio, who is a frequent guest on the show, and he adds a little lilt and a little non-wrestling fun to the show. And people are responding well to him. And I also do a second show called the Outdated Entertainment Hour, where we talk about old movies, old rock and roll, TV, theater, you name it. We have covered it. We're going to cover a lot more things in the future. Here's the easiest way to find either of these shows. Go on your browser, type in Bob Smith Outdated Entertainment or Outdated Wrestling. It will all come up on your browser, every place we can be heard. Both shows are everywhere you can think of finding a podcast, and YouTube. So yeah, that's about it. I don't do video podcast because who would want to see this? I'm pointing at my face right now. But we're going to keep going for a while. I'm having too much fun. I've invested too much in it, both financially and time wise, to say, the heck with it. I know. And here's the best part. I'm meeting new friends like you, Nate. And honest to God, I've met about a dozen people through the podcast that I never met before. Mm-hmm. That I'm starting to be really friendly with. I mean, even in my off time from doing podcasts, to be honest with you, that's pretty cool. And through the podcast, I am now able to touch base with Craig Peters and Bill Apter. And I've heard from Stu Sachs. I've heard from a bunch of people I used to work with and hadn't seen them in over 3 decades. Now, Craig Peters and I get together a lot. You know, we've seen each other quite often since my podcast started. You got to love it. That's awesome. And like I say, when I do these podcasts and I'm talking to you about old stuff, I feel like I'm still in Rockville Center and I'm 35 years old. And that's pretty cool. It's like a time tunnel, you know? So I hope you feel the same way about doing your podcast.
Absolutely.
Congratulations to you two. It's not easy doing these things. And to do one as long as you have, that's a nice job, man. It's not everybody can say that.
I appreciate it. And I appreciate your time. Absolutely, Bob. Thank you for joining me. And here at the WNR Podcast Network, on this show, we'll continue reliving the extreme, and especially as I said at the beginning, and I do recommend it. I'm not blowing smoke when I say that Bob's shows are a part of my every week listening. So it doesn't take too much time to listen to them. It's always a good topic. It's always a good conversation, and it sounds good because there's nothing worse than a crappy sounding podcast with crappy conversation, and it just I just looked. I know I'm supposed to shut up now, but I was just looking the other day. I told my wife, we're sitting on the couch, and I don't know what made me think of it. And I looked, and there are 3 million podcasts with over 3 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
There are only 250,000, which shows you how many people start one and then quit. But there are only about 250,000 that continue on after those first average 3 episodes. And I bet you out of that 250,000, there are 75 that are worth listening to. It's just, I don't know. It seems like, I don't know. Everybody wants to have a podcast, but I don't think everybody can do it. And that's not me putting anybody down. I just think that some people are made to have good conversations and some people aren't. And some people are made to have good audio and some people aren't. And it is what it is.
But I have to thank you for bringing up the audio. I have been driving the people near me crazy with my stick-to-itiveness in delivering fine quality stereo sound. I have worked my tail off making changes for this, different softwares, different microphones. I have been a student of all this for the last 3 years, and I think I finally got it down. I think the show right now, as we're talking, sounds really, really, well, I put it this way. I want it to sound like a show that's been produced as opposed to just thrown out there.
Yes.
And I think I've accomplished that at this point. I mean,
absolutely.
I'm serious about even my wraparound music, the theme shows. I buy the rights to those. I take it very seriously. Whenever anybody tells me the sound is good, dude, I got to buy you a steak dinner, man. I'm telling you, because I have worked so hard on this stuff. So the fact that you like the sound as well as you like the content, thank you so much for saying that. It means a lot.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Bob Smith, for taking the time out to be on Reliving the Extreme. We appreciate it. Great conversation there with Bob, and I do have it on good authority from the authorities over at Outdated Wrestling Hour that I might be getting another shot to be on that show here in the coming weeks. I've been on the show before, and it was a great time, and it sounds like we're going to hook up again and do another little conversation between Bob and myself on the Outdated Wrestling Hour coming up later in the summer. So that being said, let's go into the normal schmucks you listen to here on the Reliving the Extreme podcast. Myself, Aaron, and Chad, it is time for our review of Barely Legal, the the first ECW pay-per-view here on episode 200 of Reliving the Extreme. Yes, everyone, it's episode 200 of Reliving the Extreme, and apropos, it just happened to work out that the 200th episode of our show is actually our review of ECW's first pay-per-view, Barely Legal 1997. We finally got here. I'm Nate. Aaron's with me.
Hello, everybody.
Chad will be along shortly. But yeah, we're going to get into it this week. Barely Legal. We've had all. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, it's like Nate said. It wasn't like at the beginning of this we were like, oh, when we get to 200 episodes, it'll be Barely Legal. It just serendipitously happened. So
yes, it's like it was meant. Yeah, it was. I thought that was a fun thing when I was counting out the episodes. Like, holy shit!
Just so everybody knows, going forward, we're gonna, as far as I know, we are gonna start not only reviewing the shows but every actual pay-per-view that they have. So
yes,
which means as well.
Which means we'll probably be skipping quite a few episodes of the shows, or not quite a few, but a few episodes, because ECW tends to do, like, I noticed the next episode is just pretty much recapping Barely Legal, so we won't be watching that.
Yeah, but just to explain to people why part of that is because they do recap that pay-per-view on their show, but they typically only recap the, like, one or two big matches and show little clips of everything else. So we kind of want to tell the story of the feuds and things like that, the combinations of it. Also, ECW was a lot like WCW. They just throw some random shit on a pay-per-view, and that would be fun to see. Yeah. So
yes.
I'm looking forward to this.
Well, let's get started.
The second chapter of our saga of ECW.
We'll get started here, and of course, Barely Legal took place at the ECW Arena. Date of the show, April 13th, 1997. According to Wikipedia, 1,170. I didn't know that arena could fit that many people in it, but
I'm sure they used every inch of possibility for it. And I'll say this, I have watched this pay-per-view a lot, obviously, but I hadn't watched it in a very long time. And I actually did forget how well they made if I'm saying it right, how well they made the ECW arena look. You know what I mean? Like, yes. It didn't look like a dingy bingo hall. Like, Paul was at least smart enough on that aspect of, like, he kept what the company was like in the ring and with the stories and everything, but it was like, I can't just present this on pay-per-view and it's dimly lit.
Yeah, they definitely had a better lighting grid and etc. And I think wasn't that even a new ring mat?
Oh, I'm sure it was. The crowd even felt cleaner. Like, I'm looking at the crowd and I'm like, it's almost like Paul, like the week before, was like, can you guys, like, bathe,
shower, take a shower before you come,
clean up. But anyway,
the show starts off with Joey Styles mid-ring with the intro, and he's doing his classic Joey Styles mid-ring intro, saying, "Welcome to ECW, welcome to our first ever pay-per-view, Barely Legal," and then out come the Dudley Boys. Very loud "fuck you, Devon" chant.
Yes. I think it's the perfect, not just the match, but I think it's like the perfect act to open the show with. Like, I wouldn't want the ECW, if you're trying to present ECW to, like, the masses that might not see it. I don't want a happy ECW crowd. I want an angry ECW crowd. That's the crowd I want. Like,
so it makes it
like
different.
It's like, I want the "fuck you, Devon," or "she's got herpes," or what, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I want. And these guys, you're not gonna have to worry about them not trying to get heat from the crowd. They're gonna go out there and do exactly what you need him to do. It's almost like reverse Tito Santana. You know, like Vince wanted Tito to go out there to make the people happy and get up off their feet. So you see a live crowd cheering and happy. Paulie did this, and he was like, I want this crowd to be mad and raucous, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, for people that don't know, we're moving into and the Dudleys they cut their Dudley Boys promo and the testify and thou shalt not fuck with the Dudley Boys and all that. And I'll let you go into the rest of it. Sorry.
Well, after Devon runs down the crowd and they do, like Aaron said, they do the whole shtick. They give us a nice, slickly produced ECW barely legal intro video, and they come back with Joel Gertner introducing the Dudley Boys. And of course, it is the Dudleys versus the Eliminators for the ECW Tag Team Championships. The Dudleys are the champs coming into the pay-per-view. And this match, like you said, this was the perfect match to start off ECW's first pay-per-view. The Eliminators
Yeah.
versus the Dudleys, doing their greatest
Yep.
hits, doing their spots.
It's like you get the heat from the Dudleys, and then you get a team that we've been saying it. You know, there is a good chance that you could say these guys are the best tag team at this point, even though like there's other teams like Owen and Davey, uh, Rick and Scott. You know, but
Another
and WWF, WCW fans might tell you, oh, Owen, Davey, Rick and Scott, the Harlem Heat, yeah, and those teams are all good, but none of them are like these guys.
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that one thing that I did note, I noticed that because on the ECW hardcore TVs that we watch for the Eliminators, they use like a WWE network kind of music. This on the Barely Legal, they left the didgeridoo style. That's what I always call it, the didgeridoo style
Yeah.
music for the Eliminators. Like if they're actual music, it's usually some kind of WWE network dubbed over music on the TV shows. So I was actually surprised that their actual music was on this show.
Yeah, which I always liked their actual music. I thought it was cool.
It's not a didgeridoo, but it reminds me of a didgeridoo.
I get it.
But do you have any specific notes on any of the action in the match?
It's just right from the start they take out Sign Guy. They hit him with total elimination. That double twisting splash, they get the big reaction from the crowd. Cronus hits the Muda elbow. That I'm just running down the spots that I liked in the match, which were obviously from the Eliminators. I really liked that double jump moonsault the Saturn hit. It like I never disliked Saturn, okay? So don't get me wrong. And he had to he had to somewhat change his style when he got to WCW because it was his leg or whatever. Before that dude fucked up his leg, god damn.
Yeah.
He was an athletic motherfucker. And he never wasn't.
Right.
You know what I mean? But he couldn't do all that after he fucked up his knee. But like before that, oh my god, he was so fucking good.
Yeah, it's like we've talked about numerous times on the show. For the brief period, if you think about it in the history of wrestling, it's a brief period because it's like maybe 2 years. But for the couple of years that the ECW or that the Eliminators are riding high in ECW, they were easily the best tag team in North America. We say it over and over and over again, and I don't think that's a lie. I don't think that's a fib. So
I don't think it is either. A lot of the stuff that Cronus does, like I like it, don't get me wrong, and I think it's cool. But sometimes Joey being like, "Oh man, that size shouldn't be able to do that." And I'm like, eh. But like seeing him hit like a 450 splash is insane. I'm like, that dude shouldn't be able to do that. But for the most part, it's a spot fest match for the Eliminators. And they end up hitting the total elimination on Bubba Ray for the 1, 2, 3. and the Eliminators are your new World Tag Team Champions.
And then Joel Gertner comes in the ring.
Oh yes, he's going to
and
tell us
says,
why not.
"I'm sorry, but by the Stud Muffin scoring system, 42, or I think he says 43 to 41, and he doesn't get to finish his stupid little diatribe because the Eliminators give Joel Gertner, and the crowd, of course, is egging them on with a 'fuck him up' chant, but Joel Gertner eats the total elimination to start off the pay-per-view on a high note."
One thing I always liked about his rating system is, and I'm not saying Joel Gertner is as funny as Bobby or whatever, but Gertner's funny, don't get me wrong. But most people would be like, on a scorecard of 50 to 2, the Dudley, but he's like 43 to 41. We'll give you that.
Yeah.
It was close.
He makes it close.
Yeah, it was close.
By a ball hair.
Yeah. It's close. Don't get me wrong, but you guys didn't win. But I just thought it was a good way to open the show, and you can tell that Paulie, hindsight wouldn't have done it because he doesn't know what's down the line with Perry. But going into this pay-per-view, you can tell that he thought the Eliminators were going to be one of his long-term acts. Like you were talking about, it seemed weird they took the belts off of him and had the Dudleys win it. Well, they did all that because they wanted these guys to win the titles on pay-per-view.
On pay-per-view, yeah. And if I read correctly, right, I don't know where I was reading it because I read a few different articles about the pay-per-view going into it just to brush myself up on maybe some of the news or whatever that was going on at the time. I think Bubba got injured in this match too. I don't know.
Possibly.
I don't know how that affects things going forward, like if he's away or if there's if he's out of the ring for a little bit or not. But I think he got injured during this match, but from something I think I remember reading. But anyway, so yeah, the Eliminators retain the tag titles, like Aaron said. We get Joey Styles up in the Eagle's Nest, just talking about what's going down tonight with the triple threat match. It's Sandman, Big Stevie Cool, and Terry Funk. The winner gets the title shot immediately to face Raven for the ECW championship. And then a music video on Sandman. We come out of that with Joey talking about Chris Candido being injured. And then we get a promo from Chris Candido in the ring. Essentially,
he's
in his sling.
He's supposed to be facing Lance Storm, but that match is not going to happen. So Lance is getting replaced by RVD. I just wanted to mention that because there's some of that enters into later on a couple things. So
yes, but Candido cuts a promo on how he was here at the beginning, and hey, we remember that from 200 episodes here ago on the Reliving the Extreme when Chris Candido was with he was in the Suicide Blondes with somebody. Was it Chris Michaels?
It was Chris Michaels and Johnny Hotbody,
who wasn't a blonde, which was funny.
Who wasn't a blonde, which was part of the joke.
But yes, he's right. He was here from the beginning, and then he says,
"Oh, go ahead."
I was just gonna say, it sounds like he's putting ECW over, but then he says, "But since then, I went on to bigger things, and I wrestled at WrestleMania, and blah blah blah. And now I'm back here to prop this promotion up again." So a fun little promo from Chris Candido.
One thing I did like, he's like, and I'm here, and I'm not even promoted. I'm not even on the shirt. Like he's pissed off. He's not even on the shirt. And then he's like, I'm going to be out here some kind of way tonight. And he storms off. He's all unhappy.
And yes, like Aaron said, it's Lance Storm who was supposed to face Candido, which I don't know if they ever even plugged that. I mean, obviously their intention from the beginning was for RVD.
They didn't. They didn't even put him on the shirt.
Yeah. But the intention the whole time was obviously for RVD to be on this show. They just used Candido's injury as a way to make an angle out of it. So, and it makes a good angle because after the match, RVD has he has a gripe. He has a thing to bitch about. But yes, it's Lance Storm versus Rob Van Dam. trying to sorry, I got lost in my notes there for a minute. Oh,
All right.
I didn't have a lot on the match because it was a good match between these two guys. Obviously, you're not going to get a bad match between Rob Van Dam and Lance Storm, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. Beginning of the match, the big chant is "You sold out." Reason being is RVD's been appearing. Well, a lot of ECW guys have been appearing on WWF at this point. They've been appearing as ECW superstars. Rob Van Dam has been, but not wanting to get into the WWF. Rob Van Dam has been appearing as an ECW star, wanting to get into the WWF.
Yes.
And is associating with Jerry Lawler, which is ECW blasphemy. They start with a quick series of drop downs and step overs and all that. RVD ends up hitting a somersault over the top rope to the floor on Storm. Van Dam hits a sliding drop kick into a chair into Storm's face. RVD's in a weird spot in this with this company because they're supposed to be booing him and hating him because of what and I shouldn't say he's in a weird spot. The crowd is in a weird spot with RVD because they want to boo him because he's selling out and he's doing this, that, and that. But once the bell rings, they can't not like what the guy's doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's kind of like like early until pretty much until the double turn. It's kind of like the situation with 96, 97 Austin in WWF. You know, you're supposed to hate him because he's such an asshole, but
or now Logan Paul.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like when you see shit that Logan Paul does, you can't boo it.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're like, God damn, that was awesome. You know, but he's talking, man, we're gonna boo him. But Storm ends up hitting a good looking springboard splash and a springboard clothesline. And Storm seems like he's kind of getting the crowd going, and then he messes up because he hits one of the shittiest, weakest looking chair shots you could possibly hit somebody with. It's almost it's if you want to know kind of how it was, it's kind of like that chair shot that Hogan hit like his nephew with on W. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Even where Tony's like, oh, okay, like, all right. But he hits like a very weak looking chair shot on the RVD, and the crowd's like, ah, fuck you, dude. And then RVD ends up getting the Van Daminator on Lance Storm, but doesn't pin him, and ends up hitting the split-legged moonsault for the 1, 2, 3. And this match is a fun little match to kind of see the start of RVD. You know, even though we've seen him, don't get like I know we've seen him for about a year now, but he's really starting to. He's finally going to become an integral part of the show.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
He's been kind of he's been kind of a not I don't want to say an afterthought, but there's been so much stuff and this hopefully this makes what you said make sense or there's been so much stuff that they've been working on for 6 to 8 months to lead to this show. Sabu and Taz, all the you're trying to build the drama with Terry Funk and Raven and all of his feuds and everything. So Van Dam's been there and he's been good, but he hasn't been able to be a focal point yet.
Yeah. And what I think is fun about it is, and you can agree or disagree with me, whatever, but Rob Van Dam is in like my top 10, 12 favorite wrestlers of all time. Like I love Rob Van Dam. And it's fun to kind of watch the evolution of the character of how he acts, but also see the evolution of how he works. You know,
right?
It's like he hits like a frog splash in this match, and he hits like the Van Daminator, but his finish is still the split-legged moonsault. You know, and somebody, whether it was Paul or whoever, looked at him and said, like, that frog splash is your best fucking move, man.
Right.
Like, you shouldn't have it. It's like, it's, I think that frog splash thing is similar to like what Sean said in his book, because he used the back suplex or whatever his
Yes.
finisher,
Mm-hmm.
and the super kick was like a transition move. And Scott Hall, like you said, he was driving in the car with Scott Hall, and Scott Hall was like, "Your super kick that's the move, man." You know, I think they call it like a savate kick at that time or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. Well, and it came
And
from it came from him and Marty used to do a stereo super kick like that when they were a tag team.
Yeah.
And like you
Yeah.
said, it was just part of his move set, but he didn't see it as a finisher.
Yeah, and Scott's like, "Why are you doing anything else after somebody after you kick them in the fucking face like that? Like that's your finish.
Mhm.
Like nobody should be getting up after that." It's just like, yeah, you're right. Or it's kind of like how Scott told Kevin Nash, because Kevin Nash could do a leapfrog. He's like, "Why are you doing a leapfrog? You're
Yeah,
7 foot
you're
tall.
7 foot tall.
Just put your foot up. Like, you shouldn't be leapfrogging anybody." But anyway, I digress. I don't know if it makes sense what I'm saying, but it's gonna be fun to kind of see him
hmm
morph into the mega star that he became.
Yeah, we're gonna see a little bit more of that coming together later in the show.
Yes.
But yeah, and then after the match, Rob Van Dam cuts a promo about, because Lance Storm kind of walks up to him and they do like the little mutual thing about respect and blah blah blah, and Rob Van Dam's like, "Well, I don't really care if you." I think it's funny, but I thought it was funny that he's like, "I don't care about whether you respect me or not. I don't care about whether these people respect me or not." And I like that, like off microphone, Lance Storm's like, "You're an asshole," and then
Yeah.
like he didn't make a
He's
big
like, "I
deal
don't
of it.
care."
It
Yeah,
wasn't like a
he's
big
like,
like dramatic thing. He
yeah,
was just like,
he
"You're an
said, "You're an
asshole."
asshole," and then he walked away, and Van Dam's like, "You're right, I am an asshole."
But I just love the way it was low key. Like Storm didn't
Yeah,
make a big deal about it. It was just
you're
commentary.
an
You're an
asshole.
asshole.
It's like, "You're right, I am. And if I'm worth more money here, I'm worth more money elsewhere."
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good shit.
But I'm trying to get my timeline straight here. This is April. I said April.
Yes.
I don't know if it was before or after this that Van Dam has the match with Jeff Hardy on Raw. I know at some point in the spring summer of '97 he has that match with Jeff Hardy on Raw, but I don't know if he's had that match yet. But beside the point, it doesn't matter.
I believe he had.
Because I know he's been on Raw,
Yeah.
but yeah. But yeah, so essentially, like we said, Van Dam cuts the snide little jackass promo about being better than. Yeah, he's gonna go where the money's at. He doesn't respect ECW. He's just here because right now ECW's paying him the most. But like Aaron said, he's pretty much his line was, "If I'm worth more here, I'm worth more elsewhere." Elsewhere. The next match on the show is the Michinoku Pro 6-man tag team match. It is Taka Michinoku, Men's Teo / Terry Boy, and Dick to Go against the Great Sasuke, Billy Graham Hamada,
I put
and
Grandpa Hamada.
Grandpa Hamada, or Billy Graham. He's had a lot of names on this show.
Yeah.
And Yakasuji. This is one of the ones that like sometimes I get a tongue twisted. It's Yakasuji, I believe.
Yakasuji. That's how Bill Ortiz said it.
They gave us
Yakashiki.
they gave us the streamers.
Yes. Yakashiki is replacing Crabman. He's hurt.
Yes. Grand Nakama or Nanima or whatever his name. Anyway.
Something like that.
I have a note here that I've never we haven't talked about Taka Michinoku a lot on shows.
Yeah.
But when I do talk about him, I do talk about how much I like Taka Michinoku. Really like Taka Michinoku. I only have one problem with Taka Michinoku. Have you ever listened to Jim Cornette? I know you don't listen to Cornette a lot, especially when he talks about modern stuff, which I don't a lot either. But when Jim Cornette talks about Johnny Gargano, have you ever heard what he calls Johnny Gargano?
Johnny Same Face?
Johnny Same Face, because he says that no matter what's going on, Johnny Gargano's face is just the same face. Taka's like that. Taka is Taka Same Face. Like, that's one thing that I say about Taka is his like no matter what's going on, his facial expression, it's like it's just a mask. Like his facial expression never changes while he's wrestling.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I could see that. Grandpa
not
and
knocking him because I love Taka. Don't get me wrong,
but Grandpa and Taka start the match. I still think it's weird that Sasuke looks like he's wearing ballet shoes or whatever, socks, whatever you want to call it. During the match, Joey talks about how the BWO Japan or whatever was in Michinoku Pro, and brings up Ultimo Dragon, but he's like, which they call him in WCW, they call him Ultimate Dragon, which is true, and it was dumb that they did call him Ultimate Dragon, but I'm sure Ultimate Dragon is probably like, as long as my check's clearing,
yeah. You can
I'm
call
cool.
You can call me Shirley if you want. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck what you call me. As long as I'm not paying for my own flights back. But I don't. We could. There might be another name for Grandpa Hamada. I don't know.
This guy has more names than fucking Brutus Beefcake.
But watching Grandpa Hamada work, you know what I said? I said Grandpa Hamada is Oriental Ronnie Garvin. Like that's who he reminds me of. And I know they're probably like the same age or whatever, but I'm like, because he doesn't work like that high flying Japanese style or whatever. He's just a chop the shit out of you. You know, he's kind of stands as like when you chop Ronnie Garvin, like Ronnie Garvin would like stand his body like rah, like take it like that, stiffen up. Or I don't know. I don't know if it makes sense. That's how he reminds me of. He reminds me of like an American worker, like a Ronnie Garvin, or trying to think who else would be like that.
So here's his name for the record. His name is Hands of Steel, Billy Grandpa Hamada.
Works for me.
We've gotten more North American mileage out of this guy than anybody ever. Did you have?
And then, sorry.
No, go ahead. You can go ahead with your notes, because then after I'll go through mine. But
all right, I only had like two more. One, they do it in a couple other matches, and they do it in WWF, obviously. But I always thought that human pyramid spot that Kai and Tai, BWO, Japan, whatever you want to call them, do. I always liked that. I thought that was fun. And the only other note I have is I wonder if Rob Feinstein tried to lure Masato Yagashiki into his panel van, because I'm like, that kid looks very young. And Rob Feinstein was there. He worked the main event. So I hope he didn't try to molest that poor Japanese boy.
So what I've got here for some things that I wrote down about this match is we talked last week about you and I just had a discussion about how great Joey Styles is, okay? And we talked about how the fact that he was going to be doing this pay-per-view almost entirely by himself. He has some community theater with him later on, but almost entirely by himself. And I wrote down, because as I was watching this match, I was like, if I ever wanted somebody to understand how great Joey Styles is, and as a single person calling shit by himself with no one else by his side, I would have them watch him call this match because he is so awesome. There's so much going on, and he doesn't skip a fucking beat. And the other thing I wrote down was this is where the difference where us older school fans would try to tell new fans or people that are fans of some of the shit that's out there now. There are lots of spots in this match. This is a spot fest match, but it does not look near as fake or choreographed as some of the shit that they do today. Like, people will try to say, "Oh, you watch the luchadors and you watch the jet." No, it is completely fucking different. Like,
It is.
it's
Lucha's even
completely
like
it's completely fucking different.
old school lucha's different. They took time. Like if somebody hit a move, there was time to sell it.
Yes,
Like in Mexico, a pile driver meant something. You know, and like
and I wrote down here. This is a spot fest that is acceptable. This is what the spot fest should be.
And then you got Oriental Ronnie Garvin in there that when like you do all this, and then like okay,
Some
now this guy's
Smash Mouth shit
gonna
too. Yeah.
yeah, and he's gonna take you down and cool it down for a minute, and and the other thing too is like Joey doesn't. I don't want to say it like he explains what's going on, but he doesn't like over explain what's going on. Like I'm gonna show how smart I am because I know every single name and yeah. Like even like I like how at the beginning of the match he's like, I apologize, I'm not gonna know everything.
Right.
Or whatever. So yeah, I get what you're saying, and not a lot of this. What's his nut? The guy with the mask.
No, Excalibur.
Yeah, he wouldn't be able to do this. Make it good.
But yeah, Sasuke is the one that gets the pin in this match on Taka Michinoku with I think it's like the suplex that's like a full Nelson style suplex. Pins Taka. We get a profile on
arm German.
Yes, double arm German. I was like, the suplex. Stevie Richards promo profile. And then we get kind of an overbooked mess, as is always the case with Shane Douglas and the Pitbulls. Next match is for the ECW TV title. Either Pitbull 2 wins the title or Ravishing Masked Rude has to take off his mask. So Shane Douglas comes out. He's escorted to the ring by what Joey says is the police, some of the police department or whatever, the SWAT team. And I wrote down here, what's with this music? Like on every other ECW show we watch, they use what at least sounds like Perfect Stranger. And then they overdubbed this weird. And then I put down, I love the fact that Joey Styles calls Francine a shameless hussy. Shameless hussy.
Like, we talk about like Joey being Joey and he's his own guy or whatever, but sometimes you can hear him like pull from guys that he was a fan of. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's kind of like a Jim Ross thing. Like that Jim Ross would say that.
I can hear Lance Russell would say shameless hussy. Tell him in Mexican just to get out of here.
But when I hear somebody like shameless hussy, like I just hear Jim Ross's voice.
Jezebel, yeah.
Jezebel, a shameless hussy.
But yes, that's but then Shane Douglas has to cut a Shane Douglas promo. He essentially talks about the gist of his promo is that he is the reason. There's all these other goofuses and losers around this locker room, but without me, this place never would have got to pay-per-view. Like essentially is the gist of his promo.
Yeah.
And then of course he talks about how great he is, and then he goes on and on about Gary Wolf and Rick Rude airing his grievances in front of everybody. And then Pitbull 2 comes out. Oh, they show Gary Wolf outside the ring in a neck brace, which is part of his regular outfit now, I guess.
Yeah. Like, I don't feel bad for you anymore.
You're the Gary that cried wolf.
Yeah. Like, stop showing up. Like, just stop going to work if that keeps happening to you. Take some time off, man.
Okay. There is a lot. This match is a lot. Like I said, this is an overbooked mess. I'm not saying that parts of it aren't fun. I'm not criticizing it that much. I'm just saying for this pay-per-view, honestly, even though this was one of the longer matches and one of the most like hyped matches, I have to say, to be honest with you, it's my least favorite match on this show.
Yeah.
And I've been ready for months, but aren't you ready for this Pitbull's Shane Douglas shit to be over?
Yes, and this is kind of the apex of the Pitbulls. They're not going to be much of anything very much longer. Just saying. Like, they go on to be kind of like a secondary act pretty shortly after this.
So let me just run through some notes here real quick. The first part of the match is mostly Pitbull beating the shit out of Shane, which the crowd is into. Like I've always said, the Pitbulls are over with the ECW crowd, no doubt. At one point, Pitbull won. Shane taunts him. He comes over the rail, and he's held back by the Riot Squad guys. I like how halfway through the match, I don't know if it was an audible that Heyman called or that Joey called, but at the beginning of the match, Joey said that Shane was coming out with members of the Philadelphia Police Department. And then middle match, they switch. It's the Riot Squad. Like they don't say they're cops anymore. They just say they're the Riot Squad, like almost like hired guns or something. But at one point, they bring a guardrail in the ring, but the spot gets messed up, so they wind up redoing it outside the ring because before they can do their spot, the guardrail falls over. Douglas is supposed to crotch Pitbull 2 on the guardrail, and it falls over. So then he kind of just like lays Pitbull down on a guardrail that's laying down. It was funny because Joey's like, oh man, got his foot. I don't know. It was just funny. Like it was like this whole thing has gone sideways. He got his foot. The match goes outside, then back inside for a bit for some back and forth. Chris Candido comes out at one point to distract Pitbull 2, I believe, if my notes are good, and Douglas winds up winning the match with a belly-to-belly.
Yeah.
There's much more after the match, but yeah, that's the match in a nutshell. I don't know if you had anything else written down. That's what I had.
No, just like you said, it wasn't the best match. I even in my notes, it's like the middle of this match is pretty fucking boring. I don't know. It didn't. This match did not equal the hype of the match.
Mm-hmm.
And part of me is because I think the feud went way too fucking long.
Well, way too long. Way too long. We've seen everything that can possibly happen already. So this is like, this is like some afterbirth. They just needed something to.
Like everything you guys just did in this match, we've already seen you do.
Mm-hmm. Then Rick Rude's voice comes over the house mic because since Pitbull 2 lost the match, Rude has to unmask. And then Rick Rude, quote unquote, comes to the ring. And Joey's pretty much like, hey, he's not even trying to hide it now. He's got the robe on, blah, blah, blah. He says he's definitely going to unmask. He wants Francine. He kisses Francine. Shane Douglas. Shane, what's that?
She likes it.
She likes it.
Like her character passes out. Or faints, or whatever you want to call it.
And then Shane Douglas comes from behind to attack Rude, but it turns out it's not Rude. And Rick Rude was one of the guys in the riot gear. And then it turns out Brian Lee was the fake Rick Rude. I forgot that. Like as I was watching, I knew there was like a doppelganger Rick Rude or something, like a fake Rick Rude to fit, because I remember the riot gear thing, but I forgot that the fake Rick Rude was Brian Lee. And I went, oh my God, Brian Lee has now been a fake Undertaker and a fake Ravishing Rick Rude.
Yeah. And you're also like, oh, that's why they had him wear the robe.
Yeah.
Because nobody's going to believe that. Because Rude wasn't even like, I don't want to say it. At this point, Rude wasn't even in bad shape, but he wasn't in wrestle shape. You know what I mean?
Right.
But nobody's going to, unless you put that, if you don't put that robe on it, nobody's going to believe that Brian Lee is Rick Rude.
The only thing Brian Lee and Rick Rude have in common is they're both tall.
Yes. And like you said, the match itself was pretty boring and cookie cutter or whatever. But the segment was good, and I get where they were going. They were probably wanting to move Brian Lee into a feud with Shane, but I'm pretty sure Brian Lee's not long for the ECW world.
Nope.
And neither's Rude, really, but
this is April. This is April '97. Yeah, Brian Lee's about to be chains very soon.
Yeah.
Because Ron Simmons is about to be like, just like a jalapeno pepper, your ass is fired. But that's Savio. That's not you Crush. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think he called him like white trash cracker or something.
Yeah, something like that. What? Oh, that's the one where Crush is delayed.
Yeah.
He's like, Farouk's like, and you know what, Crush? Blah 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 blah. You're fired too. And then they have like it's like a delay because Crush is just like, what?
Fired.
Fired. It's like 10 seconds of him just still looking at the monitor.
I fired you because you're stupid.
Look how long it took for that to set in.
Set in.
But anyway,
you good for like 2 minutes.
What's that?
You good to take like a 2-minute break. I gotta throw my shit in the dryer.
Oh yeah. All right, up next, if you've ever watched Beyond the Mat, you'll recognize this staircase. Raven cuts a brooding promo about his upcoming match, his upcoming match with either Funk, Richards, or Sandman on the same staircase that Paul Heyman gives his dramatic speech to the ECW roster before Beyond the Mat.
Yes,
and it's funny because when I watch Beyond the Mat, I'm like, every one of these people that is on this show, I don't care if you call a shoot documentary about wrestling or not. I've always said, if you are watching wrestlers, they are working. If there's a camera on them. So the wrestlers that are on that show, on that movie, they're giving you a little bit behind the curtain, but they're also working. My thing about Heyman is, whether the cameras were on or not, that would have been the same speech he gave to the ECW guys, because he's working them too.
He's always working, man.
He's always working, is that Paul Heyman. Whether the camera was on or not, it would have been the same big dramatic I'm Winston Churchill speech. Yeah.
They're all against us. You know? It's like Tommy.
Don't worry about that check. Don't worry about that check. It'll clear. It'll clear.
Yeah. It's like Tommy said, like, it was so like the big man, like we're the small guy, you know. It was like against the WWF, but like if you went to work for WCW or anything about the WCW, they were the Taliban, man. You know, like he would just work everybody and do whatever, and Paulie might be the best. I don't know. He might be the best worker of all time in that aspect of it.
Yeah.
I like how Lance said he had a 3-strike and you're out policy and like contract stipulation, and like he missed 3 and he's like, you have a 3-strike and I'm out. You know, I can leave. No anything against me. He's like, oh, let me make it right. Let me make it right. And then he never missed a check after that, which means he could have just kept paying Lance, but was
Yeah.
just not doing it.
He was trying to get away with not doing it. Yep.
Yeah. And Lance was the guy that called him on his shit because I can go to Japan, motherfucker.
So we talked about when we talked about Douglas and Pitbull being kind of annoying because it had already kind of been blown off, and the match itself didn't live up to the hype that had been put behind it going into this pay-per-view. And that was my big question for you on this next match. So the match is the match we have been talking about for a year in ECW. Heading into this pay-per-view, they have kept these two men apart. They have done everything they can to bob and weave and done a fantastic, masterful job of building Sabu and Taz as the match that you don't want to miss. My question is, and there's sometimes where you just can't. It's just impossible to. Do you think Sabu versus Taz at Barely Legal 97 lived up to the hype?
Yes.
Okay. I do too. I just wanted to check because it's one of those. No, it's one of those. You know what I mean? Though it's one of those things where there have been matches that have been like so hyped up that no matter what the two wrestlers did, it was a letdown.
No, this match was perfectly put together. I don't know if it was just these two doing it, how much Paulie had to do with it or whatever, but it's a perfectly blended match. Like, I don't know how many notes you have or what you want to go into it with, but
No, you can go ahead with yours. That's fine.
my first note is of all the players on the ECW roster, if you're a casual fan that's never seen this product before and you're just like, oh, I'm gonna buy this pay-per-view, this random pay-per-view, out of everybody on this show, you have never seen anything like Sabu.
Yeah.
This is gonna be the thing where you're just like, what the fuck is that? Like, they even do a great job in this match where like Taz makes his big dramatic entrance and then Sabu is just like,
yes,
like he's
just
there
in the ring.
Yeah, like what the fuck? And like I said, the match starts, they slap each other, couple fists. Taz clotheslines Sabu, and Sabu goes down and stands up. And I've never seen Sabu sell for anybody before this or after it like he did for Taz off that clothesline. It was amazing, like how he staggered and fell out of the ring and did all that. And I know that in real life these guys didn't like each other, at this time or whatever, but it shows how professional both of these.
It's just like, and I don't want to interrupt, but it's just like you watch Survivor Series 97, Brett and Sean.
Yeah.
Until the end, absolutely professional. You know what I mean? They couldn't fucking stand each other, but there is that unwritten rule with wrestlers that, no matter how much we don't like each other, your life is in my hands for 15 minutes.
Yeah. Like Flair said, he never hurt Eric Bischoff in the ring.
Yeah. Yeah, he tried to poke his eyes out behind backstage.
Yeah.
While we're practicing our profession.
But yeah, all them Starcades and everything they did, he never intentionally hurt Eric Bischoff. But so I liked that. And then Sabu or Taz grounds and pounds Sabu, hitting him with cross faces. I don't know if it was a legit nose break or if Sabu just bladed or whatever, but Sabu sells his nose being broke. And then I like the fact that, like I said, it was telling a good story because then Sabu ends up getting, I can't remember what he hits on Taz, but Taz gets staggered and then he falls out, and then it turns into Sabu now hitting his offense and Taz trying to defend himself from that. It's like I just thought the match flowed very well.
Mm-hmm.
And they both got to show off what they could do and what their style was.
Hey, Chad's here, everybody.
Fucking yeah.
You got to miss most of the show. Actually, we're into Sabu and Taz at this point.
Yeah, we're in the last two matches.
Dude, do you know how pissed I'm gonna be if I had to sit here and I had to fucking watch that motherfucker and then take the dumbass fucking notes and look forward to doing this goddamn show. And then when he sent me the text and it says I have 26 more days left and being in fucking jail, and I said, nigger, fucking please. So without even fucking like trying anything, I just clicked on the sidebar, like just fucking saying like, well, let me just fucking just see.
Just see, yeah.
Sure enough, I'm fucking here.
Well, technical difficulties as ECW is used to. So I'll ask you, Chad. I asked Aaron before we started because we've gone through a lot of the pay-per-view already. Obviously, we're 50 minutes into this thing. So we are at the Sabu Taz match. So you won't have to refer to many of your notes here.
I don't even know where they're at.
My question to Aaron was after a year of build, after everything we've seen, the bobbing, the weaving, the keeping these two apart, the drama, everything that's gone on with Sabu and Taz. Sabu Taz at Barely Legal 97. I want to see if you agree with Aaron and I. Did the match live up to the hype?
You're asking me?
Yes.
No.
See, we thought it did. The two of us thought it did.
I'm only looking at it through 2025 eyes. If you ask me if I can take a step back and look through it through 1997 eyes, I would say there's a pretty good chance that it probably did, considering like all the fucking potholes ECW had, all the bullshit that they had to jump through, like all that kind of stuff. I would say, yeah, that was a pretty goddamn good like match between Sabu and Taz. But I'm not putting it up against anything today's standards.
And to Aaron's point, I'll see. I know you're going to probably agree with this. We were talking about how if this is the first time you're a new fan in 97, all you've ever watched is WWF, let's say, and you see this ECW promotions on pay-per-view. Hey, I'm going to give ECW a shot, and then you see Sabu in this match, you're gonna go, what the fuck is this? It's you know.
I got you. I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, but it's still fucking 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, 30 years ago, I was what, 22 or whatever. You know what I mean? And I ordered it because I wasn't working there anymore, and I was actually home on break from Memphis. I was back for a fucking DWI case while I was back home from anyway. Mm-hmm. And so I ordered it, and because I wanted to see it because I couldn't be there. I mean, I would have been there if I was in that area for any long term, but I wasn't. I was only there for 4 or 5 days. So right. I ordered it, and I was like, dude, yeah, I think by 1997 standards, it was pretty solid. It was pretty good. I mean, I think Taz, probably could have, I don't know. I think Taz probably could have like been like maybe highlighted like a little more like to set him up for later on, because you got to figure Sabu's still going to be on his way in and out, you know, with Japan and that kind of stuff.
That's another thing I was going to say. That was another question that I had written down to ask you guys, because Taz actually wins this match. Essentially, Sabu, quote unquote, passes out in the Taz mission.
It was a technical submission or whatever you want to call it.
And I'm glad you said that, Chad.
Good night, Irene.
About Sabu going in and out. So I guess you kind of answered my question before I got to ask it. Do you guys think the right guy went over in this match?
The right guy had to have gone over in that match. What I mean, you're left with. The booking possibilities were potentially catastrophic had you booked Sabu, because this is 1997 and not 2025. so you can't play that John Moxley shit with Sabu then. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You can't. I mean, you technically could, but you're already a fledgling company that barely even got on pay-per-view to begin with. So, so you're gonna start off your first pay-per-view like opportunity with the guy fucking just taking the belt and rolling the fuck out. I mean, that's not a pretty good fucking taste, all right?
The reason I think it was the right guy is because if not, like that entire year of Taz talking shit, and then he just gets beat, he's done. You know what I
No,
mean?
I
Like
think
he's not.
I disagree with that, Aaron. But I hear your point out though. I hear your point. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, like he talks shit for a whole year about how I'm better than this guy. You can't beat me, brother. You're afraid, this, that, and the other thing, and then he just gets beat 1, 2, 3, or whatever. I just think it takes it away, and it doesn't hurt Sabu to lose. I don't think because he doesn't lose very much to begin with. And so him choking out Sabu in the middle of the ECW arena, it doesn't lose Sabu anything. For one, Sabu went through a table. He took like
Yeah,
fucking 7 T-bone
I
Tazplex
did.
and then
I'm glad
passed
you
out,
counted.
you know? It's kind of like Steve passing out, you know what I mean? Like he didn't lose anything,
the the only
you
thing
know?
the only thing
And
that
so I think the right guy went over.
yeah, the right guy did go over. That's without a shadow of a doubt. That had to have happened. But the only thing you could have done with that was if Sabu um, would have won over, and it would have been a fluke in Taz's eyes, and then it would have set Taz off into another fucking like dimension, another level of Taz. You know, it could have been like this motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like, who does he think he is? You know what I'm saying? Like, because Taz is already a pompous, arrogant, I'm going to choke you out guy, and he's very confident in his uh, Jodoku skills and every other his other martial arts and stuff like that. But for him to have to fucking sit out there on TV and admit that this guy beat me.
Yeah, really the only effective way you could have put Sabu over, and I agree with you guys, Taz being the right guy to go over, but the only way you could have put Sabu over Taz would have been to do and it's about to happen, but to do the Fonzie heel turn during the match on Taz. You know,
And which
you
I'm
know,
glad they didn't, honestly.
and I am too. I think the hindsight being 2020, it all went down the way that it should have, and it's all good in the hood. But because after the match, of course, Sabu and Taz do. You know, Taz, you gave me the best fight of my life, brother, and all that jazz. And they do the hug job and
all that Taz.
all that Taz, yeah. And but it's all for naught because Rob Van Dam is out, nails Taz from behind. Van Dam and Sabu attack Taz, put him through a table on the outside, and Fonzie turns on Taz, which is another great booking decision because Fonzie belongs with Sabu and Van Dam. I don't care what any hindsight 2020, he belongs
I
with
agree
these
too.
guys.
But one thing I thought was funny was part of his logic was he was already going to turn on him anyway.
Yeah.
But he said he was mad at Taz because Taz cost him money because I bet money on Sabu. You know what I mean? So like that was the other reason he was mad.
I was gonna fuck you anyway, but now
Yeah, but you just cost me a lot of money, motherfucker.
Well,
Like that was fun.
did you see All In by any chance?
no.
Okay, but do you know what happened for the finish?
Yes.
Everybody and their fucking brother-in-law fucking ran the fucking out the fucking. They called me, but I said I was like 400 miles away. I'm sorry, I can't make it there I can't make it there to help fucking Hangman Page. I can start walking now, and maybe I'll get there by the end of it. But at the end of the day, like I don't have the same respect for Hangman Page as I did had he beaten Moxley 1-on-1. It took fucking 6 people. For, like literally, it took like 6
so
people.
I'm assuming because obviously we already talked about it, so you don't have to relive it again. But we talked about Douglas and Pitbull too on this thing and how overbooked it was and everything. So obviously that was a little overbooked as well. Moxley and Hangman.
You think?
The
I mean, fuck.
The only other note I got, and I didn't want to bring it up before we talked about the end of the match, so I don't want to spoil a pay-per-view that was, 30 years ago or whatever,
yeah.
or however old this pay-per-view is. One thing they did do cool in the match is if you watch Fonzie, there's points where he's like, "Get up, Sabu, get up," and like he's pointing at the sky or whatever.
Right.
And Joey's like, "Oh, look, he's taunting Sabu," but like during the match, he's giving Sabu encouragement.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like he's not even trying to hide the fact that he's cheering on Sabu during the match.
Yeah,
But
because
people,
Fonzie
Joey's just saying, "Oh, he's taunting this guy."
because Fonzie ain't the
But, like,
kind of guy
during,
that can hide that either, right?
yeah,
Like
like
Fonzie
during
ain't the
the
kind of
match,
guy
he's
that
like,
can hide that. Yeah. So yeah, he was like he
yeah,
was making it sound like he was taunting Sabu, but he was really like, come on.
"Yeah, come on, Sabu," and Joey's
Seriously.
like, "Look at this guy."
He's a schlep. Yeah, I mean, I liked the match. I didn't think it was really anything bad with the match. I just hindsight and shit like that. It's like, yeah, it, that had to have happened that way. It just unless you wanted to go the other route, and wrestling wasn't ready to go that route because we weren't even ready for this route yet. Honestly, tell you the truth, yeah, it was the only way you could have done it. And let's be honest, it's gonna now that Sabu's gonna be out of the picture. It's just gonna leave Taz that much longer of a time to to put himself over for, I guess, who's next? Shane? I mean, I don't know. Was it Shane?
I think. Well, Shane's coming up, but I don't know. I know. I don't think they feud until Shane actually has the belt, the world championship. But the next thing we have on the show here, I put down before we get to the triple threat match, we have some serious gimmick infringement here.
Oh boy.
Because Tommy Dreamer comes out and he has apparently stolen the Leather Lou Albano gimmick from Damian Kane.
Right. not even assholes.
Isn't he wearing a stupid hat too? Like, was he wearing a dumb hat?
I think he had a hat on and he took it off before he actually was presenting himself to the crowd or whatever. And of course, the ever classy ECW arena crowd tells Beulah to show her tits. But yeah, I was like, look at Tommy out here clad in leather.
You sure they weren't chanting that at Tommy?
Dude, that ECW crowd was something else that fucking night, weren't they? Man, everybody was a crack whore. Everybody sucks dick. Like, god damn it. I mean, that crowd was on fire that night. Damn. That was a where was that at? That was in like Cleveland or something, wasn't it? Was that the arena? It wasn't the arena, right?
No, yeah, that was the arena. It was just really well lit.
Really? That was the arena?
Yeah. They just made it look good, but yeah, it's like Tommy. Like I was like, oh, I forgot that he was on commentary, and then when he started doing it, I'm like, oh, this is why I forgot.
Dude,
yeah, he's joining Joey on commentary.
Moses smell the roses.
And it is the triple threat match. Terry Funk, the Sandman, and Big Stevie Cool. The winner is going to face Raven for the ECW World Championship directly after the match.
One of them guys didn't belong in that match. Fuck, I don't fucking know.
Hoochie cutters, right?
I got to be honest. I had the sound turned down. I was listening to the Bixen's band, so I was hoping he was going to call the match. Fuck, I certainly
you were watching the match, but you were hearing
Yeah, I was between two sheets in the wind. Fuck.
I do like at the beginning of the match, Sandman offers Terry Funk a beer, and Terry Funk basically mouths at him like, "Not right now, but maybe later."
Yeah.
Hey man, that means Terry Funk's serious. Like that actually meant more than you think it does. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, because what was Terry going to do? Fucking ham it up and fucking and go ahead and just chug the fucking beer, and then what? Smash it over his head and then fall through the ropes. You know what I mean? Like this was, and because I remember Terry was serious about this. Like he was serious about this fucking match.
As well, he should be. You know, I don't know, he's invested time and effort into this promotion. It's time for him to get his fucking roses.
And you got to book a match around Sandman and Stevie Richards too. Don't forget that. So I mean, it wasn't like he didn't have a whole lot on his mind that night to not fucking to offer take Sandman's beer. Fuck, I gotta fucking work with these fucking goofs.
Aaron, what's your rundown of this triple threat match here?
Like I said, Sandman tries to give Funk a beer and he won't take it, so Sandman drinks it and spits it in Stevie's face, and then the crowd gets worked up when they start hitting the chops, so they're chanting the woos and all that. So this crowd that hates Ric Flair is wooing every time a chop gets hit. I thought, but whatever. During the match, Tommy Dreamer mentions that basically Joey's like, Tommy, it must be the most painful thing to see your mentor getting beat up, and Tommy's like, it is, but I told Terry that I wouldn't get involved because it's all about him and I want him to win. But this is so bad. So this is once again put upon Tommy, talking about how hard it is for him to watch his pop get.
It's funny. It's funny that you said that, because at one point doesn't he even go, I just don't want to talk, Joey. I just don't want to talk.
It'll happen in a minute.
Okay, because I was like, well, you're getting paid to fucking talk, asshole.
No, I'm gonna bring that. I'm gonna bring that up in a little bit.
Okay.
You're on commentary.
And then Sandman ends up tossing a ladder into the ring, and they fight up on top of it, and Sandman ends up getting knocked off, and then Terry hits the moonsault off of the ladder onto nothing. Like he completely misses everything. But Stevie still sells for him, and the crowd still pops. Like that was the ECW crowd, not shit. If anybody else, any other human being on the face of the planet would have done that moonsault and had it end the way he did, they would have crucified that guy. But dude, since it was Terry, they let that shit go.
Aaron, Terry Funk's fucking right arm came down so hard on fucking, like, I think it was Sandman's back from that moonsault. That fucked everybody up. It was Sandman, right?
It was Stevie.
Whatever. Yeah, but like when he landed, he's so far overshot that all he did was stick his arm out. That his arm kind of like landed on him.
Any other human being would have hit that move. They would have just destroyed it. But since it was Terry, they let it go. Terry ends up hitting the Three Stooges spot with the ladder on everybody, and they do the teeter-totter ladder spot. And then Sandman, he comes back with this seems like overkill, but it's a steel, it's a trash can wrapped with steel. I don't know why they did that, but
I don't even know what the fuck I don't even know what that was. They wrapped around that trash can.
They said it was sheet metal or something, but anyway. That's what Sandman has. And then Stevie ends up getting taken out by a ladder. And Sandman and Terry Funk both pin him, and Stevie's eliminated. I don't know if you guys got anything else on that. And then Sandman ends up going back outside of the ring, and this time Joey's confused because he's like, what? He's got a bunch of streamers, and then he's like, holy shit, those aren't streamers, it's barbed wire.
Yeah.
And because all the streamers from the Japanese the Japanese 6-man tag is intertwined in this barbed wire now.
Oh, that's right. I missed fucking Dick to go.
Yeah,
you missed Dick to go, and and Masasato Yagashiki.
I have to, Aaron. I know we're trying to keep this under 90 minutes, but I have to let Chad know. We decided because Gran Hamada, listen, Chad, Gran Hamada was working like Ronnie Garvin. So
Oriental Ronnie Garvin.
So, with all the names we've had for Gran Hamada in the show, we decided we found the final name for Gran Hamada. It is Hands of Steel, Billy Grandpa Hamada.
Jesus Christ.
We're never going to see him again.
That's the final boss.
He's gone.
He's the
He's
final
gone.
boss.
We're never going to see him again.
Well,
Sandman ends up having this barbed wire. He busts Terry Funk open with it, and then he wraps himself in it. So now he's got this barbed wire and these streamers and all this shit. So he looks like the most terrifying human pinata of all time.
The most terrifying pinata you've ever seen with beer breath.
And he climbs up on the top rope, and the part of the barbed wire strands like underneath his legs, so he's got like a fucking pinata barbed wire tail shooting out of his ass.
He was looking like the Grand Marshal of a fucking of the hardcore Shriners parade.
Or like a fucking dude in one of those New Orleans fucking funeral march things.
Oh, he was a Mardi Gras.
But it should seem more vicious than it is because he's got barbed wire, but it's ridiculous because he's got all these streamers all over it.
Yeah,
anyway,
he had shit hanging out of his ass.
Yeah.
He had a cup stuck to the back of his bottom of his shoe. I mean,
yeah, he's supposed to be this. He's supposed to be this violent warrior, but he looks like one of those renegade warriors from WCW's Clash that we're watching. But anyway, he goes up. He ends up like I said, he turns himself into a barbed wire pinata. He tries to take out Terry Funk. It doesn't work. Terry Funk ends up hitting the moonsault on Sandman. 1, 2, 3. And Terry Funk is your winner. And immediately, Raven comes out, and Funk's bleeding all over the place. And this is where you were talking about with Tommy, because Joey's like, "Oh my God, Tommy, look at all the blood that's gushing from his face. Look at all of it." And Tommy's like, "I'm not trying to be rude, but just don't talk to me right now. I don't want to talk."
Tommy,
and then
Joey, little bitch.
And then Joey tries to talk again, and then Tommy starts talking again. It's like, "I didn't mean to interrupt you." Like, what? Are you gonna shut the fuck up, or are you not gonna shut the fuck up?
Because
if you're just gonna shut the fuck up, just leave.
Yeah, if you're not gonna do it, then don't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck.
And then the foot doctor. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's like
Mark
Stu
Anthony.
Hart. It's like Stu. It's like, yeah, do it or don't do it. It's like Stu Hart. If you're gonna try me, you gotta try me.
Yeah, it's one of those people that's like, yeah, all pussy boo face, and then when you ask him what's wrong, be like, "I don't want to talk about it." And then when you don't ask him, you're like,
they make a cryptic post on Facebook about nothing.
Hey,
what's wrong?
At least that fat guy that jumps off the fucking picnic table into microwaves and stuff and wrapped the barbed wire, at least he does it. Like, he don't sit up there and ask for the crowd approval. Like, I mean, for his friend's approval, before he jumps off his picnic table through a fucking a microwave wrapped in fucking barbed wire. And then he gets up and goes, "Ouch." That's Dreamer.
And then the foot doctor that Raven knew, he runs out.
Mark Anthony, right?
Yeah, he's checking on Terry Funk, acting like he's a real doctor. And Terry was bleeding a fucking gusher. Like, he was fucking bleeding pretty hard. But Tommy is like, "Oh, don't let it end this way." Oh shit! And then Raven ends up he ends up putting Terry Funk through a table, and that will end it. And then they bring out what they call Raven's Nest, but I called it the Random's Nest.
Yeah,
Because
I was
we didn't see any of these people.
no, I didn't even know who this Reggie Bennett person was, to be
Oh,
perfectly
he said
honest.
Reggie Bennett like 7 times. He's like, it's Reggie Bennett. I can't believe it. It's Reggie Bennett. I was like, well,
Who the
first I thought it was Ricky Lake. And then I'm like, it's not right. Who the fuck is Reggie Bennett? And I don't think we ever see Reggie Bennett again
No.
that I know of.
Reggie Bennett was fuck for like literally even for me he was in and out that fucking fast. He was some fucking
It was a chick. It was
no
a big
right
fat lady.
the black guy.
No,
No,
it's a big
no.
fat. It's a
This
big
was like
fat white lady.
a thick white woman named Reggie Bennett came out, and
She might have shown up with a black guy, but
Okay.
she wasn't a black guy. She
Oh,
was probably Inchworm's girlfriend.
she looked like Jordan Grace's mom.
but black.
I bet it was Inchworm's girlfriend. Because remember they had Thomas the Inchworm. He was out there with the BWO. I bet she showed up with Inchworm, and he was like, I can do something with her too.
So Reggie Bennett, the girl wrestler, worked Japan.
Yeah, I had no fucking clue who she was, to be honest with you. I didn't have, yeah. But she came out during this, and like Aaron said, like Joey said her name like 15 times.
Dude,
That's
I don't
Reggie.
even
Made it
fucking, I don't even
like we
remember
knew who
that.
these other Nest people were. But she ends up this Bennett chick got to work with Terry Funk, so she can say that. Like she got to hit a power bomb on Terry Funk, and it was not effective.
Not
And then
effective.
and then Tommy is standing up watching this as the Nest is getting involved, and Big Dick returns, and Joey's like, he's been released, like he's not incarcerated anymore. Which I love. Every time Big Dick gets hurt, he's in prison.
Yeah.
It could be a shoot, I don't know, but every time he's hurt, he's incarcerated.
It's a shoot.
So he comes out and he tries to end up choke slamming Tommy through the 3 tables, but Tommy ends up kicking Big Dick in his dick and throws him through the tables, which is actually more impressive than watching Tommy fall through some tables.
Hey, I'll tell you how much of a shoot Big Dick being in prison is. Remember when he always had the crutches?
Yeah.
Well, he came back at one point. I was still there. Like I may not have been on TV like all the time, but I was still there. He came back and he could fully work, and Paul still made him use the crutches because he still had to have that way out. Like you're going back to jail, so you're still gonna be fucking hurt. Like in our eyes. Are you sure Reggie Bennett in black? I swear Reggie Bennett was black.
And a guy, apparently.
Oh, listen.
I don't know who I saw, but I saw Reds. Reds got involved.
Yeah, I don't know what you were watching, but it wasn't my Reggie Bennett. She was a big old white lady.
I knew who Reggie Bennett is from Japan, but I don't remember seeing her on this at all.
Yeah, well,
she was there.
If you were watching it on mute and listening to Bixen Span, you might not have. You might not have actually,
And my wings could have been done. I mean, that could have been it too. I was making wings while this was going on, so I could have. I just missed that, but I know who Reggie Bennett is.
I bet if you said Reggie Bennett, Bixen Span could talk about it for a half an hour. Because God Almighty. Anyway.
And then Tommy Dreamer proves that he's not a man of his word because he gets involved in the match. Piece of shit, lying sack of fucking monkey shit. And ends up DDTing Raven. And Funk tries to pin him and it doesn't work. Raven pops up out of it. And then Raven gets kicked in the stomach. Funk gets a small package. And now Terry Funk gets the 1, 2, 3.
Right.
And Terry Funk is your world heavyweight champion.
And I know it was quick. I actually one note I have to put here. because you covered pretty much everything in your play-by-play, Aaron.
Yeah, pretty
But
much.
one thing I had to that I did write down. So Tommy DDT's Raven and Funk got a 2 count off the DDT. I appreciated that because I'm glad that Terry Funk pinned Raven not off of something Tommy Dreamer did.
Yeah.
He beat Raven by beating Raven. I mean,
All right,
granted there was,
I got you.
but yeah, if he would have beat Raven off of Tommy's DDT, it would have cheapened his victory.
I know, and I think Paul was smart enough to know that, and so was Terry Funk and like everybody is smart enough to know it. And it was just a way of getting Tommy on the pay-per-view without getting Tommy on the pay-per-view. You know, it's kind of like
Yeah.
Dusty doing the interviews in Starcade. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
we'll get his fat ass on the show.
Like if this
Yeah.
would have been like any other show, and Tommy would have did the run-in, he would have been doing the run-in from post-production, like all the way from Valley Forge. Tommy's running down fucking 645 to do his run-in. But luckily, this was a pay-per-view, so he didn't have to fucking waddle his fat, fucking sloppy ass fucking too far.
Raven should have even pointed it out later on. He's like, "You've never beaten me. You couldn't even beat me with Terry Funk. Like, you couldn't even beat me using Terry Funk. You fat loser."
So I know
Tommy Dreamer stinks.
and that, again, the show ends quickly with the if you believe all the stories, I believe it's true. The power cut off right as they were going off the air, so they got it all on the air. Terry Funk, feel good moment, wins the ECW title at the end of Barely Legal. I know before in some chatting that you and I have done, Chad, to quickly end the show here, guys. But I know you have mentioned to me, Chad, that you're not a big fan of this show.
No, I wasn't.
So overall, ECW's first pay-per-view, we've been building toward this for 8 months. All the hoops they had to jump through. It's not 2025 where they could have just set up a GoPro and put the shit on YouTube. You had to actually work to get on pay-per-view in 1997. For all the hype, all the work that went into it and everything. What do we think? What's the overall grade for Barely Legal for you guys? Because I know I think more highly of it than you do, Chad. Because I actually really enjoyed this show.
I give it a B. I give it a solid B plus. The only thing I didn't like about it was Pitbull and Shane.
Yeah, you and I kind of agree. Yeah, Pitbull and Shane to me was the butthole of the show.
It was the could have did without.
Yeah. Everything else was. I thought everything else.
It wasn't even like a coulda went without. It's like, did that match need to be like 20 fucking minutes?
Right. Yeah, they could have easily just cut to the chase, went right to the angle and finished.
As far as Douglas and Pitbull 2 at Barely Legal goes, since we've seen so much of these guys over the past year, it's like there's a Bare Naked Ladies song called "It's All Been Done Before." That's kind of what I feel about that match. But
1 week, that's what it felt like it lasted.
It's been 40 weeks since we've been doing this, but.
Right.
I actually enjoyed Barely Legal, and I guess just to end the show, Chad, because I did see that you had mentioned to me that you weren't a big fan of the show. I was wondering what was your reason for that.
I just don't think ECW thrives very well on them in them atmospheres. It's too much pressure, I think, for them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the way it comes across to me from being there. It's like the best things happen when they're not supposed to happen. And ECW is not the kind of company that can make things happen. You know what I mean? Like they can rig a trap door on a ring and that kind of shit. But when it comes to the shock and awe, that shit has to happen. It can't you can't book that shit. And booking a pay-per-view, I mean, I understand the level of stress that went through for this show just to even hit the fucking airwaves. I get all that. That's why I'm giving him a little bit of leeway. And I'm gonna say it was a solid high C. But I mean, it's just like they just can never seem to pull that shit off, in my opinion. Like when the gun's to their head, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I don't like. It just didn't do it. It just didn't do it for me, man. Put it that way. Didn't do it for me, brother.
And
All right.
last
Go ahead, Aaron.
last thing I was going to say is out of all the workers and all this, that, and the other thing, and honestly, I think my favorite match on the show was honestly the opening match, was the Dudleys and the Eliminators.
Yes,
But,
that was the best match,
in my opinion. But the MVP of this entire show, Joey Styles.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because to do what he did and Dreamer didn't fucking help, so we aren't even going to count Dreamer being there for the last match. But to do what Joey did for 2 hours and 40 minutes, and I actually
tell the story of all this.
I actually mentioned to Aaron and the listeners before you got on, Chad, when we were reviewing the Michinoku Pro 6-man. To anybody that ever wants to see how fucking fantastic Joey Styles is at calling something by himself,
watch him call Lucha.
With all of that going on during that match, he never skipped a fucking beat. Fantastic job.
Joey can call some Lucha matches, man. Joey's good at that shit, man. I love Joey. I've never had a problem with Joey. I love
Joey's the fucking best. I love Joey Styles. But
Yeah.
Well, that's it. That's barely legal. We've reached our peak for ECW in Nate's opinion. There's going to be some good stuff coming up in the next couple of years. This is our 200th episode. Here's to 200 more as we continue on past barely legal now into 97. And
so I can go back to watching 47-minute fucking shows now.
Yes, until we get to Heat Wave.
Until
we get to Heat Wave. And then we got another pay-per-view.
I just hated the fact that I missed a show or two, and I come right back on here and I watch it 2.5 hours after I watched fucking 22 hours of wrestling all goddamn weekend. Who the fuck? Nobody told me that Evolve was an all-women fucking show. What the fuck is the matter with these people? Fuck. I watched 6 hours of AEW. I put 147 miles on my car. Watch it all in. And that was just me driving. That wasn't even counting what I watched when I was fucking just sitting in my house. Like, I am wrestled the fuck out. Shit.
I can't wait till.
And you're trying to tell me that Reggie Bennett was a fucking white person.
Now that WWE owns AAA, maybe now we'll have an all minis pay-per-view.
We're not. There's no fucking chance. It better not be anytime soon. Put it that way. I can't take it anymore. I'm backlogged, buddy.
Well, Aaron and Chad, I do have to say, with all honesty, from the bottom of my heart, being all sentimental and shit, here's to an awesome 200 episodes. Thank you guys for a great 200 episodes, and here's to many, many more as we continue our journey through the history of ECW. I thought at least one of us would be dead by now, but we're still alive. We're still kicking.
I'm trying, buddy. I am fucking doing my goddamn damnedest.
And we'll see everybody.
I'm like Terry Funk cutting that promo. I am trying.
Hello, asshole. We'll see you all next week for episode 201. Have a great week, everybody.